Mr. Ghosn, a lot of talk about with you, including the suspended sentence of former Nissan director Greg Kelly, which we will get to in a moment. But first, due to the war, we're seeing so many supply chain issues. And I just wonder what your thought is on how Renault survives this. Such a big presence in Russia, such big exposure with AvtoVAZ. Can they even get through it?
Look, I think, frankly, the question should be addressed to the leaders of the company and not to the ex-leaders of the company. What I can tell you is when we decided to move into Russia and make this alliance with AvtoVAZ, everything was fine. We were here on a mission to modernize the car industry in Russia for the benefit of the Russian users, but also for the benefit of AvtoVAZ itself and Renault itself. It made a lot of sense. We worked hard. We modernized the company, and everything was going well. This present situation has nothing to do with an industrial strategy. This is more a political situation on which the present leaders of the company should make statements. And I'm very surprised they're just not saying anything, even though, as you said, the share collapsed by practically 1/3 in a couple of weeks. But they are used to that because the share collapsed by more than 1/3 in the previous 3 years due to the bad result of the company. And frankly, we did not have any serious explanation about that. So I'm not surprised about this just neutrality in front of a situation which requires the leaders of the company to stand up, to make a position, to reassure the market and to reassure their own employees.
Let me ask you this then, just in terms of the supply chain, because, Carlos, we've gotten a number of different outlooks from different manufacturers, but we're seeing now so many companies halt production. How important is Russia? How important is Ukraine to the global automotive supply chain?
Frankly, I think they are important, but they are not so important. I don't think that you're going to cripple the supply chain of the car industry because of what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. There are going to be hurdles, there are going to be challenges, but I don't think any car manufacturer has massive supply coming out of these two countries. This doesn't mean that there will be no problem, but management is here to solve that.
Good morning to you, Carlos. You left, of course, a business that was in an alliance, Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi, which you're very familiar with. Do you think that what we're seeing now, the difficulties in Russia for many automakers, do you think that that will change the shape of the alliance at all?
Oh, well, I think this particular fact between Russia and Ukraine is not going to change the face of the alliance. The alliance, in my opinion, took a huge hit in 2018. Frankly, I think it's a zombie today. They're not working together. They're just maintaining an appearance of the alliance. There is no vision, common vision between the companies. There is not this ardent desire to work together and to benefit from this corporation. In my opinion, it's doomed because the only reasons for which you have an alliance between different companies is this willingness to work together, to make hard decisions together. And we have not seen any of this for the last 3 to 4 years.
Well, speaking of decisions the alliance may be forced to make, we're hearing now from Volkswagen it will be stopping production in Russia and halting all exports to Russia. That is according to its CEO. The headline's just crossing the terminal. So, Carlos, if you were still in charge, what would you be doing in Russia? Do you think Renault should be making a similar move?
Again, you know, I'm not in charge, but I can tell you that if I was facing a crisis like this, the first thing is I would make a diagnosis, an exact diagnosis of the supply chain, and I will take not only immediate decision, but I would be communicating about these decisions, not only to reassure people, you know, the stakeholders, the shareholders from one side, the employees from the other side, even the partners in Russia. So in a certain way, they have nothing to do with what's going on, which mainly it's a political issue. And I'm stunned by the fact that it's complete silence. There is nothing dictated by the company. What I can tell you is I would have been on the front line. I would have devised the plan in function of the present situation of the company that I don't know anymore because as you know, left for now more than 3 years. But I would be trying to put a plan, reassure people, and tell them how we're going to be working from now on.
Getting on to other matters, Carlos, and of course, we've seen the court verdict in Japan today, finding the former director of Nissan, Greg Kelly, guilty of helping you to underreport compensation. I know that you've said he's innocent and you've contested the charges against yourself, but then you escaped from Japan. He is not escaped from Japan, and he had to go to court. How does it make you feel to see that he had to stand in court and you won't have to?
Look, I am first relieved for Greg and his family, because finally he's going to be able to leave Japan and to reunite with his family in Tennessee. So he has had 3 years and 4 months of an ordeal that is about to end. I hope he will be able to cope with the tremendous damage, psychological damage, emotional damage, financial damage that he has been through, which is fabricated by the hostage justice system of Japan, triggered and manipulated by Nissan. Now, I just want to give you one case. Look at the case of Greg Kelly in the United States and the one in Japan. In the United States, the SEC made an investigation and ended up making a settlement with him. It took 3 months, and he had to pay a $100,000 fine, okay, for the same charges. In Japan, it took them 3 years and 4 months, where he maintained hostage in Tokyo. He was arrested, even though he had an acute medical condition, and he was put 1 month in solitary confinement. There is a total unbalance between what could happen into a developed country and an acceptable justice system and the hostage justice system in Japan. Now, he is obviously innocent. If he was guilty, I don't know why the Japanese executives who worked with him, who colluded with him, are not there. There is no mention.
I mean, Carlos, we know that they almost always convict. So there was really no question on that front. What does this mean for you? What does this mean for your future? Will you stay in Beirut forever?
No, I don't think so. I hope not so. I think this is a safe face verdict. It's a safe face. It was predictable. It was obvious within their system. What does it mean for me? Obviously, my fight continues. I'm trying to fight my rights in Japan, even though, frankly, I'm not very optimistic about having any fair treatment into the Japanese court. I'm not talking about the criminal case. I'm talking about the civil lawsuits. But I think what's extremely important is to see that, Nissan has pleaded guilty from the beginning, knowing that the maximum they would get is 200 million yen, which is $2 million of fine. $2 million of fine. That means it's laughable. That means the big risk of the company is to say, okay, I'm going to charge the ex-leader of the company. My risk is $2 million, while from the other side, my real result, and which is the victory for them, is I'm going to eliminate any idea of merger at the level of the alliance, and I'm going to eliminate any possibility of further convergence between Nissan, Renault, and Mitsubishi. This is the real deal for which they have done all of this.